Shalom. I was given an idea or a directive or an unction to do a book about 10 years ago. It was either 2015 or 2017. And we were at Sukkot in the mountains in Oregon. And so I don't remember which year because we went out there both years. And that was a particularly interesting setup in terms of, well, it was a little more, isolated, and supplies and materials and things, getting to town. You had to go down the mountain to get materials or to go, I think the laundromat was down in town as well, if I remember right. And you kind of had to pack everything in. And we had flown from the Midwest out to the West Coast. And so we had what we could bring in our luggage. And then there was a meal plan, which was really fantastic when you're up on a mountain. And they were like, it was a Christian campground, and there was dormitory. It was a dormitory setting. So there were no refrigerators in our dorms. They were shared. Our friends were on one half, and Neitz and Daryl and their family were on one half, and then we were on the other half. So I know I talked to Neitz about this, and I told her about the book idea that the Father had given me. And I decided, because it's been almost 10 years, or 10 years if it was 2015, to do this in video form. So I'm going to try to cover just the introduction today, and it's a long time in the making, and I have some notes, and I'm going to ask if there are things that you would like covered, or anything that you think has been an issue so let me tell you the title of the book. It's Etiquette in the Camp: How to Apply Torah to Everyday Communal and Fellowship Living. But I want to get this started, because if I keep finding reasons why not to start it, it just won't get done. So anyway, and it was a rainy day today, so I did my gardening when it wasn't raining, and this became the opportunity for me to sit in here to spend a few minutes on the introduction. So being up in the mountain in doing a Sukkot like that, and buying a meal plan, and then living out of coolers, it really, Sukkots open our eyes to what it's going to be like to love your neighbor, and what it's like to love your neighbor despite all the stress and the it's raining, it's wet, it's cold. I don't have my favorite ice cream, or I don't have my comfy couch and my blankie, or whatever it is that we like. That I like my comfy couch and my blankie, by the way. That whatever those things are that we like, our creature comforts that from home, when we go into the camp, most of those are left behind, or and it depends whether you're tenting, whether you're in a rental space like a cabin, or a hotel, and you're driving back and forth to the feast site. I want to talk about different things that over the years, my husband and I and our family, when our youngest son was still doing Torah, we used to travel. Well, we still do travel. We try to keep the feast, and we used to go and not Sukkot hop, but Sukkot hop from year to year, or feast hop from year to year. So we have been all over the country for different feasts. We've been in Torah since 2009. And so we've been to Oregon, we've been to Texas, we've been to Tennessee, we've been to, we might have done, I don't know if we did a Florida year. We've been to Indiana, we've been to Michigan, we've been to, those are the states I can think of offhand. Some of them twice. Like I said, we went to this particular feast twice, 2015, 2017. And so that's where the idea first came from. It was a fantastic feast. I don't want anyone to think that it wasn't a wonderful experience. It was great to go see our friends. We met so many people out there. But you still see things and experience things during the Sukkot or feast setting. We also do Passover as an away feast, as a gathered feast, someday in Jerusalem, right? Yeah, willing. So it's not a reflection. This book is not going to be necessarily a reflection of leadership. And I realize this is a book that I feel like I joke, but it's not really a joke, because I really do love people. But it's a topic that I think by the time I'm done, everybody could be upset, and I don't want that. And it's not a joke. I will take that. I mean, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be offensive. Clearly, I mean, Scripture tells us try not to be to not be offensive, to work on offense with our brothers, and to make sure that we are doing what is right. And if we have created an offense, to try to work with that, or try to discuss that with them and make that right. And I realized the flack I could get from this might be more than I really want to deal with. And I don't want to alienate people. I'm not here to lose friends. I'm not here to point people out, or to be mean or mean-spirited. It is truly an endeavor to make the Torah community, especially when we're talking in the Sabbath gathering, feast gathering, second Exodus, future second Exodus. I know Torah covers everything. The Father is very complete, but the fine details and this modern life and some things are just not discussed in Torah. And so clearly anything I'm suggesting, if it's not backed by Torah law, it's just my way of applying Torah law. I can't make new Torah law. Thou shalt not add to or take away from. I'm merely giving insight and observation of things I've seen where some things may have gone wrong. They could have been better, or where the experience maybe is great for some people, but because of certain things that aren't considered, or things that are not implemented, it makes other people's experience not as joyful, or not as easy for them to accomplish. And for some people, going and doing a feast is really simple. They have the money, the finances, the vacation time, all of that. And for some people, that's a struggle to do that. I am very observational, and I notice people that I notice when something is kind of, or someone is not part of the thing, when they're not included, or where they're struggling, or there's some difficulty. I have an eye for that, and I have a sense of always striving to do better. Perfectionism, I'll admit, but the Father's been working on me on that, because only He's perfect. But I do have a real heart to see everyone, every single person included, and every single person living to their fullest potential and enjoying, like a feast or Sabbath or the gatherings or whatever, to their fullest potential. My heart is really just to be one big, great big, beautiful family that gets along. So this is a really odd topic for me to cover. It kind of hurts already, because I know some of the things I have to talk about they're gonna hit home. And many of these things, not all, but many of these things the Father had to work out of me, or is still working out of me. I was an only child. Well, I am an only child, and only children can be fairly spoiled. So there's a lot to learn when you are an only child. And my mom was a single mom, and she worked a lot. So I spent a lot of time on my own, and you don't have a lot of, you don't have to accommodate other people a lot when you have that kind of situation growing up. And so I had to learn a lot on how to work well, play well with others, and how to take into consideration my brothers and sisters, and how to take into consideration my life and position and what I can handle and what I can afford and what I can do and what my abilities. And then consider other people who are not there, or people who are in a better position, and I may be feeling, jealous, or I may be feeling inadequate in something. And so I want to cover some basics. I'm sure this is going to cover more than just etiquette. I don't know how this is going to roll out. The Father gave me the title and some topics to cover, and beyond that, I'm going to kind of go with his lead on this. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about was when I got the inspiration for the book. I shared it with my friend Nitsa, my beautiful sister Nitsa, and she was encouraging, and I don't remember exactly what she said, but I know that she encouraged me that was a good topic that needed to be covered. And there was several years ago, and maybe this is why it took me so long to get this rolling. Several years ago, I went to a women's retreat, and it was, a weekend or a few days or whatever. I don't remember how long it was, of building women up and talking about, women speaking about walking in their strengths and the calling that Yah had put on their lives and the beautiful things that they were doing and the people they were reaching. And towards the end of that retreat, I shared with one of the leaders or organizers or the idea for the book, and her immediate reaction and statement, and it obviously was very hurtful, because I still remember her exact words to this day, and they were, "You can't tell people that." I may be missing a word or two. She might have said "oh" or whatever, but and that was after spending a whole weekend being lifted up as women and doing what Yah's called us to do. And that would be something that I would say. So that's the first topic I'm going to cover in this introduction is, if you know that someone is sharing with you something that, now we don't know always what the Father speaks to people. It's above our pay grade. We are not privileged with that information. I remember when I was young, there was, 60 Minutes or some show like that. And there were people that said that they were doing things in the name of Jesus that nobody clearly would not be called for in the name of Jesus. I'm not going to speak that here. I'm trying to make this as family friendly as possible. But some things, people can say they're doing in the name of the Lord, and it is not in the name of the Lord. And it's very clear in Torah that it's not in the name of the Lord. Or it's very clear that behavior, under only the most extreme circumstances, would that be an acceptable behavior. We don't have the ability to know what Yah has called people to do. There are things, look at Hosea. Can you imagine that calling? Go marry a prostitute and have children with her. And then name the children basically curses. Not basically curses, it was curses. That's, nobody could really guess that would be, who would say, even today if that came up, we would say, that is not of Yah. That does not sound biblical. That does not sound scriptural. That does not sound righteous. And yet the Father did call one of the great prophets to do just that very thing. So I think we need to be really careful. And there's a lot of truths that I've learned over the years about why people do some of the things they do when they attack their brothers and sisters, or they shoot their brothers and sisters down. And it comes down to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. This means that we are not policing our brothers and sisters. And I know I'm doing this under etiquette, but it's common courtesy, loving your brother and sister. We don't get to say that Yah didn't call someone to do something. We don't get to assign that truth or untruth to somebody. We don't get to call them a liar. You will be calling the Spirit or the Father or Yeshua a liar if you're telling somebody that they're not called to do something that the Father has called them to do. I would not want to be in that position. And I'm not saying I haven't judged those things. I have judged things very inappropriately, very wrongly, very self-righteously, especially as an early Torah person. Oh my goodness. I was really, really rough as an early Torah person. And I will probably cover that in another chapter. But I want to just talk about the discouragement that people can give others when they're on their mission from the Father and they're sharing it, or they're talking about it, they're sharing it, and discouragement or outright just banning it, or shutting it down or speaking evil of it. I think that's one of the first things that we really should carefully consider. And one of the things I've learned in the Torah walk is that when people understand their own role and they are secure in their own role, they are not worried about what other people are doing. That goes away. If you know your calling, if you know what the Father's called you to do, if you are about that business, if you're about your Father's business, our Father's business, if you are putting your energy and your effort and your mind and your heart and your soul into that, you don't have time to worry about other people. You don't have time to be in everybody else's business and telling them what they can and can't do in the kingdom and telling them how to run their walk. And people who do that have a control problem. Point blank, they have a control problem, and they have probably an insecurity problem, and they have I don't know what else, but I know it comes under control and insecurity. And if you've ever dealt with people in your life, most of us have, that have any kind of psychiatric or emotional, psychological issues or relationship issues, we know that control is a big issue in humans in general. And sometimes there's a couple of reasons how that manifests. One is people who lack self-control will try to control everything else around them. And two, you see this in addicts. This is really common in addiction. People with addiction will be running everybody else's life while theirs is going in the toilet. No offense to addicts. I'm just personal life observations that I've lived through, been through, seen, or watched others go through. May Yah set the captives free. So control can come from something like that, or control can come from a lack of security, insecurity, a lack of our own direction, which it's judgment. That's judgment. When you're trying to control, you're judging. And you're not only judging that person, you're judging the Father. Because who are we to judge another man's servant? And I might be just quoting part of the verse, which I'm not trying to snippet doctrine here, but that's also not a good practice. But control is not part of our walk. I mean, controlling others. We need self-control. Self-control is absolutely part of the Torah walk. It's all about self-control and self-responsibility. And under those parameters, we have areas of control, and that's going to be a whole chapter. But we need to be careful to not step on our brothers and sisters because we think that what they're doing or what the Father has spoken to them or called them to do, or how they're walking their walk out. We're not authorized to correct them in that sense. Now, obvious things that are clearly spelled out in Torah, not application of doctrine, not how are they doing this, but if they're doing this, right? It's not about how they observe the calendar. It's are they observing the calendar? It's not how they pronounce the name. It's are they, and then some people don't feel like they can, and that's okay too. We're, like I said, this is above our pay grade, and we need to learn to work within our own boundaries. And He is so limitless. He can absolutely open He can just open scripture up to us. He can open up so many beautiful, wonderful things. He can give us so much to have in our own field of expertise, in our calling, in our gifts, and our talents, and what he wants from us, and what he wants us to do, in the areas he wants us to work in, and the people that he puts in our lives. We don't need to be in other people's lives like that. It's just not necessary. And that's the Father's job. That is the Father's job. So leave it to the Father. So let's be encouraging to other people. Let's be positive in our interactions. If there is a admonition or a correction or something that needs to be addressed, and there are those things that happen, and that'll probably be another chapter. We have run into that where there's clearly somebody doing something that is blatantly, openly wrong, sinful, heretical, perverse, whatever. Those things need to be addressed, but let's stay out of people's callings. Let's stay out of people's personal walk and their personal expression of this walk. That is inappropriate. It's not our judgment. It's not our judgment. It's not our call. And really, we're taking the role of the Father. And what we're saying is that we don't trust Yah, the Heavenly Father, and Yeshua the Messiah. We don't trust them to walk that person through their own walk. That we need to be the ones to correct that walk. We need to guide that walk. That we have the information, that we are being spoken to as if no one else is being spoken to. And that we are the ones who understand all the truth as if no one else is, that the Father or the Son is not able to speak the truth or impart the truth or make them understand the truth. That nobody else can do that but us. That's a very bad place to be. That's a place of pride that is very, very unbecoming and is against Torah. We are not, right? Pride goes before a fall. So, and trust me, I was there. I was the one who used to think I had everything figured out, right? Locked up in a little box and tied with a bow. So I did have to grow on that myself. I like wisdom. I like knowledge. I like intellectual things, and I like study. I like learning. And I had a lot of humbling to have happen to me to learn that that wasn't my call to correct everybody else and tell them how they should be living their life and walking their walk. So confession, I was there. So that's one of the first basic things. And along with that, along with what is not mine or not yours or not somebody else's to correct or direct. If someone is doing something, I'm trying to figure out how to word this in a way that's not, I'm trying to do this in a kind way, but gets the point across. If someone is doing something that is, that the Father's given this to them, they're clearly gifted with it, or maybe they're just getting started. Maybe they just have an idea. Maybe it's their dream. And you hear it, they share it with you, or you hear about it, and then you run off with that idea. Or you take that idea and then you do that yourself and then you don't give them credit, or you take it out from under them, or you do it first and beat them to the punch, or you just learn everything from them and then go do it yourself and don't support their business or their ministry or their calling. Is that blatant theft? Maybe. And I think in certain instances it probably is, depending on how it plays out. But we don't, how uncomfortable and offensive is that to someone, and how demeaning and hurtful to hear someone else's idea. They trust you, they share it with you, or you just happen to, hear about it because, oh, so-and-so's going to do this and it was a great idea. And then next thing you know, somebody over there is taking that idea and they're running with it. And I'm not saying that people in Torah don't do similar things, because we do. There are things that, lots of people do essential oils in Torah. There can be more than one essential oil seller. Lots of people make homemade bath and body products. Lots of people like linen clothes. Lots of people make handcrafted items. They sew or they crochet or they knit. I'm not saying that those are that, you know, oh my goodness, there can only be one person in the whole nation of Israel that does, you know, crocheted whatever or sells essential oils or whatever that thing may be. It's not that. It's like specific ideas. And I think in our hearts we would know that if someone shared an idea, we know if we're stealing that idea from somebody else. We know if we're taking their prosperity, potentially even what they do for bread and butter to feed their family or their dreams, and we're taking those and we're stealing them from them, and then we're putting our name and our control over it, and especially when we don't even give them credit. But to do that and take that out from under them is it's just really rude, wrong, and hurtful. So we need to work on not doing that and encouraging people to be successful in what they plan and to be successful in what they want to do, and to be successful in whatever those dreams and visions are that they've been given by the Father, or those ideas that they have. I mean, he wants to fulfill the desires of our heart. And how can we take that out from under someone? How can we take that away from them when we know the Father wants that for each and every one of us? How can we be the one to steal that? And so that's, I don't know. And I know that's a tough one. And that goes along with kind of what happened with the book, is that after I got told that I couldn't tell people about etiquette, that, and maybe that was about some of the topics I was going to cover and not the entire book itself, but I feel like it was about the entire book. But like I said, it was almost 10 years ago that I got the idea, and then it was many years ago since this incident happened, and hence I think I've been struggling with it, not just because of that. I mean, I just also procrastinated. Life gets busy, and it's a tough topic. The person that shot that down later got their own YouTube channel, and they actually did cover that topic. They covered etiquette, and I didn't hear anything specific that I heard topics that I talked about that needed to be addressed that I had shared, but I didn't hear specific taglines or specific verbiage that I had used, that I had shared with them. Do I feel like they did indeed shoot me down and then go ahead and do that themselves, even if it was a couple years later? Yeah, I do. I want to address the issue because it's not something that's okay to do. But I also, and it's a personal experience, and I think that's some of the best places we can share from is personal experience. But the other thing, and it is an inappropriate behavior, so I don't want to leave it out just because it happened to me. But I'm not going to leave it out if I did something. I want to also talk about the things that I needed to correct or still need to correct, because I'm guilty of doing some things. I mean, a lot of the things like I said, I had to learn, not just some things. There's a lot I had to learn. If that person knows who they are and I don't know how they would handle this. If they realize it was them, they may, maybe they would bring it to my attention, and, we would work that all out. I mean, it does still bother me. I don't trust that person for sure. I mean, something like that happens, you kind of back away from people, and that could cause a problem, especially if we were in close, community, close fellowship, whatever, at a feast or something, that it could cause some stress. So, but I'm not going to leave things out of the book, so to speak. Like I said, because they've happened to me, I think those are better testimonies than second and third hand. So anyway, I think that's it. This has been quite long. I thought I could do this introduction in a few minutes. But I wanted to make sure that I was sharing my heart on this is not at all to hurt people. And I am by no means perfected, have arrived, or anything. I am better than I was when Yah found me, by far. But I definitely have a ways to go. And I am trying to work every day to be who He has called me to be. And this is one of the tasks that He gave me. And it's difficult. It feels very emotional to cover this topic. It feels because it covers areas where people get hurt and offended. That's what lack of etiquette does. Lack of etiquette hurts and offends people, and sometimes it even is dangerous. Some lack of etiquette does actually bring danger to the camp. Some of it, I mean, I guess that those would be the three main things I can think of offhand that a lack of, quote, etiquette can do. So I guess I'll stop there. Again, my intent is not to offend people. My intent is to bring out things that we can all work on that are not specifically talked about in Torah. The topic is talked about in Torah, or the commandment is in Torah, but the particular situation and for our world and for the way that we currently live in diaspora and in the exile and in feasting or Sabbath get-togethers and fellowshipping, that some of the things that happen that we could improve on. So I pray that if there's anything that is offensive, that you will kindly put it in the comments. And if there are topics that you or things you've experienced that you think should be addressed, I would love to hear about those. And because they should be covered. And I think maybe the comments might end up being more useful than the video itself, because people are going to have things that they've been through. And let's please remember to do this with kindness and with the heart and the intention that it is for the betterment and the correction and the growth and the improvement of all of us as a people, and not for the attack or the character assassination of our brothers and sisters. So I pray that this blesses you, and I hope to see you next time. Blessings and shalom.